or start the Veeam server here and show the Veeam job that is writing to the Pure repository, or the repository on the Pure volume mapped to this Veeam server. Try recovery. We're going to do guest files from this Linux server that is being backed up by this Veeam job. This is just going to be a file level recovery that we can put back to the same Linux server or somewhere else. Just hit next, browse, and that goes ahead and mounts the restore point from those files that are sitting on that Pure volume. There you go. We'll be able to restore any file back again to the same Linux server or to some other location. Right, it's reading those backup files that are sitting on that Pure disk, so we can select what we need to restore. So now let's go to the Pure GUI, and we'll see this is where that volume is being mounted to as a protection group, protecting those snapshots. There's the volume that's being mounted to the Veeam server. And you can already see some snapshots based on the snapshot policy, and you can even see some change rate there between the different snapshots on that volume itself. So you can see there's 0. That was probably when there wasn't a backup. That would be the original snapshot in the policy, and then a little change rate there at the top. Probably a backup here on the 10th after that snapshot, and then that snapshot on the 11th after that backup. There's that volume again, and we're going to go ahead and take an ad hoc backup. Just name that test 1. Hit create, and now you'll see a deduped at 0. There's no change because again that backup's run. This snapshot, there's no difference between the protection mode snapshot and the ad hoc one we ran. So to illustrate that a little more, let's go ahead and run an incremental kind of manually. We'll just hit start on that job, and this will give us some change on that volume and should illustrate how the snapshot didn't provision, deduped, just metadata, how that looks on the array when you're kind of thinking about sizing. So here's going to show you the data process. Processed is what Veeam sees as change from the last backup. Read is what process is the VM size. Read is the change rate from the last backup. Then transferred will be the actual change, the file that it writes to that volume, from the last backup. So the increment would be a better way to say that. Let this finish, and we will see that it's about 80 megs in this case. That were 16 was read. This happens to have compression on, so there's some reduction, but 80 megs is written to the disk, and that'll be the change from that last increment. And we can see here that ad hoc pass snapshot that we created, or I created, is now in fact where the change rate is, right? It shares data with the snapshot prior to it, and that's the delta going forward. So again, then provision, deduped, snapshots. Now, safe mode's enabled. This is just snapshots and snapshot policies that we're talking about here, but should give you an idea when thinking about sizing what tail is actually changing on the volume as data is changed, snapshots are created, increments are made. So now let's return to the Veeam server. And let's check out those backup files. So we're going to look here. You can see the actual files. That's where they're stored on disk. And now we're going to simulate an attack on the array itself. So I'm going to run my script here, PowerShell, and we'll see they just all disappeared, right? Those are the backup files that are sitting on that volume mounted to this Veeam server. Got a little report here. Maybe these are encrypted, right, in an attack. But either way, it's telling me my backups don't exist, and I cannot restore from them. So we'll go here to the restore to kind of double check that. So maybe the production data was down. I go to the backup to restore it. I pick my increments. I don't even notice those files are gone, but I hit next browse, and I met with this error message that my files don't exist, right? To my dismay, I don't have production data. I don't have backup data. I'm kind of in a lurch, but not to worry. As I discussed, safe mode is enabled on this volume on the pure array. So what we're going to do is go down to computer management. I'm going to go offline that disk, that volume that's mounted to this Veeam server in this case. Return to the pure GUI. There's my protection group snapshots that I could restore from. In this case, we did make that ad hoc pass snapshot. Of course, that's the last one with the delta, so I'm going to use it. Go back here. We can see that snapshot. This is outside of the protection group, so I go off the volume itself. Now, since SafeMode is disenabled, even if that attacker had gotten the credentials for my array, this last line of defense here, they would not be able to eradicate. Right? It's sitting in that destroyed bucket. It could hit that, but it wouldn't be able to be eradicated. It's got that timer remaining, in this case 3 days, and I am still able to bring that data back. Right, so my last line of defense, my failsafe. And same with all these. I could restore from any of those snapshots. Again, I'm going to use that ad hoc one I created. So first step, we're going to restore or recover it back to the volume snapshot area. There it is. Then we're going to restore it directly back over the volume. A little message there, restoring volume. I'm going to change the data. That's fine because we have lost our data. I hit restore. Everything's as it should be. And now we return to the Veeam GUI. I'm going to bring that disk back online. We can see here, if we look right directly at the directory itself, all my files are back. Those files, the messages are gone. I'm going to go in here into backup repositories. I'm going to rescan very quickly just to make sure it sees that those files are returned, because we did get that error message. Quickly do a rescan, and we will be met with a message that says one updated. Boom, everything's as it should be, and now I can return to the restore and give it another go. So I'm going to do Linux file recovery again here, but I could restore VMs, full VMs, VM files, anything from any of those incrementals. In this case, I hit next browse. It's going to bring that online, and you should see that all the backup data is returned, and I can restore anything I need back to the production environment or to a new production environment, wherever it is needed in my organization. And hopefully that shows a good example of how snapshots work, an idea of how the change rate affects the disk size, and how SafeMode can protect and give you that air gap-like feel with very little management.